everyone, how are you doing? I'm doing good. I recently watched the two Vampire Hunter D movies because I saw a clip and liked the aesthetic. In fact, I liked it so much that I've now made this video. I'm a big fan of a gothic vampire. Old-fashioned clothes, long hair, and an obscenely beautiful face. Lives in a castle, seducing fair maidens and collecting precious works of art. Vampires as these brutal monsters with a shiny veneer and a feeling of deep history. Belonging but not belonging to humanity. These beautiful marble statues lingering on the outside of our society. Looking like us but not us. The second movie, Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, has more of this style than the first movie, but I'm going to discuss both. Vampire Hunter D follows D, a vampire hunter who roams across the land on his robot horse looking for vampires and monsters to hunt. The story takes place in a post-nuclear war world where vampires and monsters and a whole range of magical, occult, and mythological creatures exist and live alongside humans in a very much not peaceful coexistence. The apocalyptic history of this world is evident in the old buildings and ruins that can be seen in the background of many of the landscape shots. The way these old buildings are sunken into the ground and overgrown shows that quite a bit of time has passed since these devastating events. Another sign of this past is a mix of advanced and basic technology, like a cyborg horse pulling a carriage. Much of the advanced tech feels old and worn, like it's been repaired over and over. Very little is sleek and shiny, and particularly in the first movie, everything looks quite run down. And everything has this western sci-fi feel, which brings to mind Cowboy Bebop or Trigun. D is a Dampier, which is a half vampire, half human, and very much despises the vampire side of himself. His father is a vampire referred to as the sacred ancestor, so in my mind I think of that kind of like Dracula. So as the son of Dracula, he's very powerful. He's also very strong because his father engineered him to be a vampire without the weaknesses of a vampire, like burning in sunlight and the need for blood. Though sunlight does make him sick in large doses, and though he does not need blood to survive, he does crave it. He's the silent type and only really talks to his left hand, which is inhabited by a wisecracking, sarcastic homunculus creature, and also acts as the devil on his shoulder, often pushing him towards doing the less moral thing. The first time it spoke, I was quite confused and thought D could speak to swords.
And what's gotten into you, pray tell? Your behavior has been, to say the least, a bit odd of late. Protecting a girl you hardly know, having man-to-man talks with her little brother. You're not in love with her, are you?
You're out of line.
Oh, yes, I forgot. She did offer herself to you, didn't she? But all you're interested in is exterminating vampires.
That was a clip from the first movie, which was released in 1985, based on a series of novels written by Hideyuki Kikuchi and illustrated by Yoshitaka Amano since 1983. This movie very much looks like it was released in 1985, and while the style can feel old-fashioned, I really like it and really appreciated many of the stylistic choices. I do really like the look of some of these older anime. The movie opens with our heroine, Doris Lang, running through a field at night, killing monsters. I really like how this purple or navy blue tint brings out that night quality, and also the choice to frame many scenes through the grass, which is blowing in the wind. It feels very spooky. Another thing I really like is vampires that have the silhouette of a bat with its wings folded. I think that's really cool, and the vampires in this anime very much have that going on. It's very imposing and sinister and brings to mind the entire history of vampires that we all just absorb. Doris is attacked and bitten by a 10,000-year-old vampire who drinks deeply before leaving. I mean, I don't know if he drinks deeply, but 10,000 years old, man must have an appetite. Now that she's been marked by the ancient vampire, she knows he's going to come back for her, so she engages the help of D after attacking him to test his ability. In this scene, the way the wind is shown with these dark lines really appealed to me. It sets the atmosphere well and creates a heavy tone. It really feels like a gloomy day. Dee agrees to help her when she tells him about the ancient vampire that bit her. He likes to kill vampires, and the prospect of killing one that's been around for thousands of years is his idea of a good time. This is probably the most excited he's been in years. Doris even offers him her body in exchange for his help. But he's like, nah man, all I need in this life is to kill these old ass vampires. He's usually wearing a broad-brimmed hat that leaves his eyes shrouded in darkness. And he is massive with the broadest shoulders you've ever seen and a dark cloak that gives him that silhouette that I like so much. The cherry on top of the whole look is a very long, pointy-looking sword on his back. He's everything I want in a hero, plus he's handsome with fangs and doesn't need my blood to survive. I mean, he doesn't need anyone's blood to survive. He does want it though. Doris takes Dee home and introduces him to her brother Dan, and it feels strange to have an anime about vampires, monsters, and cybernetic horses with main characters named Doris and Dan. The pacing of the movie is a little bit strange in my opinion. It's hard to tell how much time has passed, and sometimes it feels like there was a scene or something that was cut. The description of this movie also describes it as being like a love tale between Dee and Doris. And I honestly didn't ever feel that at all. Even when things happen in that direction, it just feels completely random because in my mind, they've only just met. So how can they be in love with each other if they've just met each other? I would have liked a clearer way of showing the passage of time if they had spent a much longer period of time together, and maybe they did and I just missed it somehow, or this could just be a case of falling in love very, very, very quickly, which also does happen. However, I was still very much pulled in by the character of Dee and the whole world. Doris herself was neither here nor there for me. Something that was done well is the portrayal of the villages in both movies. You see these houses that are just covered in crucifixes and crosses, showing how fearful these people are of vampires and how big the problem of these predators must be. The ancient vampire, Count Magnus Lee, is a looming and constant shadow over the people of Doris's village. As long as they don't interfere with him or attempt to stop him from drinking anyone he wants, he won't kill all of them. This means that Doris doesn't have much support in the village once it's revealed that she's been marked. Count Magnus fully intends to make Doris his new bride. And that's always what these type of vampires are after, isn't it? A bride. Is that because love is the only thing that makes an endless life worth living? Perhaps. The Count's castle is this giant building with towers and bridges and a pretty irregular design, somehow futuristic and medieval. In the second movie, Kamala's castle has the same vibe and is even more intricate and magnificent. Both remind me of Dracula's castle in the Castlevania anime. In fact, there are a lot of things in Castlevania that feel like they could be inspired by Vampire Hunter D. As I've said many times, I really like the kind of aesthetic that is featured in both of these anime, the elegant brutality of vampires. I also like it when they're straight up monsters, like Alucard in Hellsing. I really want to make another Hellsing Alucard video because the one that I made previously, in retrospect I realized it was just me being thirsty over Alucard and being surprised that I was so thirsty over Alucard. So yeah, I hope to make a better one in the future. Dee goes to the castle to end the life of the immortal vampire and gets captured by these siren succubus sisters. Apparently he is the most delicious thing they've ever tasted, and he lasts a surprisingly long time. Back at home, Doris has apparently developed feelings for him, and it's like, didn't you meet him yesterday? She's kidnapped and taken to the Count's castle, but luckily for her, Dee taps into his inner strength, breaks free from the succubi, kills them, rescues her, kills more monsters, and takes them both back home. The next night, or maybe some other night, he goes out again and she gets all impatient and worried about him, and the doctor is like, let me take you somewhere else. And she's like, okay, I know that I'm being hunted by vampires and monsters, but I'm just gonna leave the relative safety of my home and go out into the night where Dee won't even know where I am. Sounds like a good plan. And unsurprisingly, she is almost killed. Her doctor friend has turned into a vampire and betrayed her, and his fatherly feelings for her are no longer so fatherly. We also see her boobs, which I was not expecting. And then when they meet up with Dee again and they all go back home, she takes a shower and it's full nudity, and I was not expecting that either. Didn't know we were going to have that kind of adult content in this anime. I'm not opposed to this kind of thing, but it did just feel random. She gets out of the shower and goes up to Dee and suggests they run away together because she doesn't want to see him die. And girl, didn't you meet him like 2 days ago?
Listen, Dee, let's go far away where you wouldn't have to fight anymore.
It wouldn't work.
Why not?
Running away never solves anything.
Yes, but Dee, if we stay here, you could be... Oh, Dee, if anything were to happen to you...
Doris.
Dee, don't you understand? Please, please, just let me hold you for a while.
He's so big. And then he feels a surge of bloodlust that he has to fight against because he's not that kind of man vampire, not that kind of dampier. And the way his struggle is shown with these flashing lights feels so 1980s. Sensing his struggle, she offers her blood to him, and though he is greatly tempted by her offer, he refuses.
I love you.
I know.
For me, I wasn't really feeling the romantic vibes between the two of them, and I'd been thinking of Doris as like 18 or 19, so I was perfectly fine that they did not hook up. But I do wonder if Dee ever allows himself some companionship, and it makes me sad that the answer to that is probably hardly ever. You don't have to be alone, Dee, and your left hand doesn't count. Though the hand is very useful and helps him out a lot when he's badly wounded and some kind of wispy monsters almost eat him. Doris is kidnapped again and the Count is all set to marry her, but Dee arrives in the nick of time and saves her. He also kills the ancient vampire, which causes the castle to disintegrate. A lot of its design seemed pretty untenable, so it makes sense to me that it was all held together by his vampire magic. The fight between Dee and Count Lee wasn't as epic as I was expecting it to be, but I watch a lot of shonen, so maybe my expectations of the climax of a story is just skewed towards a grand battle with highs and lows.
Is it possible? Tell me, was your father our sire Count Dracula?
The movie ends with Dee leaving in search of his next opponent. Doris and Dan wave goodbye to him and their gratitude is evident. His eyes soften for a moment and we get a taste of the good feelings he gets from saving people. Because we mostly see his hatred for vampires, I really appreciate this more emotional touch at the end of the movie. Which leads us to Vampire Hunter D, Bloodlust, released in 2000. We already know that Dee hates vampires, so it's particularly interesting when he's sent to retrieve a young woman who has willingly run away with a vampire for love reasons. After failing to rescue young Miss Charlotte, her brother and father hire Dee to bring her back dead or alive. And they've also hired a group of hunter mercenary types consisting of these three brothers, this sickly guy who turns into some kind of ghost angel, and this woman, Layla, who hates vampires so deeply she hates Dee too, because he's part vampire. Dee looks even more striking in Bloodlust. The cape has been upgraded and has these claws on the shoulder, and his face is doing that unreal beauty thing that I like so much. The other vampire, the one being hunted for whisking away young Miss Charlotte, Maya, also has this ethereal beauty thing going on, and it's no wonder that she fell in love with him. And he loves her too, enough to not give in to his baser needs and eat her. This movie is more thoughtful or thought-provoking than the previous one, having the story shift focus between this band of merry mercenaries, and Dee emphasizes how painfully lonely he is. His left hand is a dick and tries to lead him astray, so I'm not sure I describe that dynamic as companionship. Layla is so driven by her justified hatred for vampires that she separates from the group to get to the target before Dee because she just can't stand to lose to him. She's got these big, expressive eyes that make me empathize with her even when we don't know anything about her and even when I don't like the actions that she's taking. Dee catches up to Maya first, finding that the vampire has sealed himself in this mirrored force fields cube thing, and while Dee's figuring out how to penetrate it, Layla charges in without much care or thought. The sun sets and Maya's carriage charges out, and his defenses are defending and lasers are shooting at her, and she loses control of her motorcycle and she goes crashing into the ground, clearly injured. Dee jumped onto the carriage and we get some cool vampire on vampire action. I like how Maya's cape is a defensive weapon and looks like a batwing. This is the kind of vampire magic that I like the most. He explains that Charlotte is with him out of her own free will, but Dee isn't inclined to believe him until he sees some evidence that he might be telling the truth.
She called out his name. It may be true what he said.
Doesn't he look so cool? Maya knocked Dee off the carriage, so he goes back to fetch his horse and sees how injured Layla is. So now he's faced with a predicament: pursue his bounty or help this injured human. His left hand wants him to leave her to her fate and go after the runaway lovers, but he doesn't, and instead he tends to her wounds.
Mother.
When she wakes and discovers what he's done, she doesn't thank him and is quite rude, and he's not even surprised or offended. I get the impression he doesn't expect kindness no matter what actions he takes. His good deeds are to atone for his very existence and the bloody legacy he has inherited. He is justifying his own existence by killing these vampires and monsters and expects everyone to hate him as much as he hates himself, regardless of any actions he takes. There's nothing that he can do to remove the fact that he has vampire inside of him. If someone treats him with hate, it's like, yeah, I hate me too. Maya takes refuge with a guild of highly skilled and dangerous magical beings called the Barbaroi and hires their 3 most elite members to guard him on his journey. And where is he going anyway? Where could they possibly go that they would not be pursued? Both the mercenaries and Dee take on the Barbaroi, and one of the brothers is killed. It's really sad how this happens, and I expected them to give up, to stop this pursuit and mourn their brother, but they do not. I can't decide if this is admirable or not. Is this determination the pursuit of vengeance? Or greed? Or maybe they just can't accept failure or let their brother die for nothing. Why, oh why, do they keep going? The ghost angel wizard guy creates a distraction by astral projecting himself or something. He's very powerful in this form, but it seems to take a very heavy toll on his body. The lovers and the Barbaroi leave, and both Dee and the mercenaries pursue them, and they both have their mode of transportation destroyed or badly damaged. And Dee kills one of the Barbaroi with the help of his trusty left hand. The mercenaries need to repair their vehicle, and Dee needs a new horse. So they end up in the same small town, and Layla poisons the residents against Dee, letting them know that a Dhampir is amongst them. Meanwhile, my man just wants to buy a new horse and be on his way. When a small angry mob confront him, not only does he not physically overpower them, which would be very easy for him, it reveals that he saved the children of the town way back in the day. And this old man, who now sells horses, was one of those children. So he insists, with the aid of a big-ass gun, that Dee be allowed to make his purchase and leave. And now Layla is forced to wrestle with her black and white view of good and evil. Dee saved a bunch of kids, and that is objectively good, and he did not cause harm to any of the town's residents. So how can an evil creature not be evil? And to confuse things even more, she and Dee are faced with Miss Charlotte, and she tells them that she wants to be with Maya and live of her own free will. Dee takes the approach of like, come now, you don't know what vampires are like, this won't work. And Layla is like, you fool, I'm taking you back and getting my money. The Barbaroi bodyguards intervene and the lovers get away. Dee kills one of them and can't pursue the lovers because he's sick from being in the sun so much and needs to be submerged in the earth. When Layla sees him doing this, sees that he is weak and scratching at the ground, she feels sympathy and compassion. Or if you want to be more cynical, she feels an obligation to pay him back for his earlier help. She digs a hole and buries him, and as she's leaving, she finds out that Barbaroi lady is not actually dead, and they have a brief fight before she puts an end to her. And then it begins to rain. It begins to storm. So she goes back to that little shelter under the tree and sits beside Dee, sharing his shelter, and they have a genuine heart-to-heart. It's clear that Layla's perception of the world is changing, and she's unsure if this path she's on is the right one, because she always thought it was the one she had to take. It's easy to see how much Dee values human life, how he thinks humans should lead happy lives and leave the killing to the likes of him. And as the story progresses, Layla becomes increasingly introspective. Is this life she's chosen really what she wants? Really the only thing she can have? She convinced herself that this was the only choice, and now is it possible to choose differently? Like Dee did by choosing to be good? And of course, it doesn't help that her teammates keep dying.
She was kidnapped by vampires. My father went after her. He was trying to rescue her, so they killed him. And after a while, my mother returned, but she wasn't my mother anymore. She'd been changed. The people in the village stoned her to death while I watched. After that, I left home. I met the Marcus brothers and joined with them. I wanted to be a hunter to avenge my parents' deaths.
I can understand why you choose to do it, but the life of a hunter is no kind of life.
It's the only life I'm any good for now, and it looks like it's the only life you've ever known. So I suggest we make a pact. Since we're both in it for the long haul, whoever dies first, the other one can come and bring flowers to their grave.
Because I'm a dun peel. I don't get to have a life, not like you.
I'd like to say that Dee's view of the inherent evil of vampires is challenged too. He sees that Miss Charlotte loves Maya, and that he loves her too. Had he ever considered that such a thing was possible? That a vampire could be deserving of love and offer true love? Maya loves Miss Charlotte so much that when the mercenary brothers are going to kill her, remember the reward is for her dead or alive, he gets out of his carriage during sunset and begins to burn. And he does not go back inside. His act of selflessness is surprising to everyone.
I love you. I can't go on without you. What?
The last remaining Barbaroi intervenes to save the lovers, killing another of the brothers in the process. And then Dee eventually kills that Barbaroi too. He was kind of cool. He was like a werewolf and had like a big mouth in his stomach. The story of Maya and Miss Charlotte is a real Helen of Troy and Paris situation. So much death comes because they want to be together. Her family hired hunters because they tried to get her back, and Maya wiped the floor with them. Now the bodyguards are dead, the brothers are dead. How can they possibly live together in peace in this world? Maya and Miss Charlotte love each other so desperately that you can't help but root for them, even though you're rooting for Dee, who still wants to take her back. They flee to the castle of the vampire Camilla, who has promised them safe passage to a place where they can live together in harmony. And how does one get to such a place? On a rocket ship, of course.
That is the ship. It will take you to the City of the Night. You can be happy there.
Isn't that the prettiest rocket ship you've ever seen? Camilla says back in the day, vampires used to travel into space all the time. So there's a planet out there where vampires are just chilling, having a good time. Miss Charlotte and Maya have a moment alone, and it's clear she wants him to change her, to feed from her. But just like Dee, he believes mortality is a gift. He loves her as she is, and who she is a mortal woman. What would it mean for their love if he changed her? Is an immortal life a gift or a curse? He fights off the urge to feed from her, continuing to push the idea that a vampire can be good. Because in the previous movie and in this one, vampirism is portrayed as inherently evil. When the Doctor is turned into a vampire in the previous movie, he is instantly ready to defile young Doris. And when the last remaining mercenary brother is turned into a vampire by Carmilla, he forgets his grief and is fully evil too. So is vampirism evil, or does it provide people with the excuse to discard morals and give into their worst instincts? You believe vampires are evil, so when you become one, you're like, oh well, I might as well. But Maya has decided not to give in to those bad impulses, at least not anymore. Being loved by this beautiful, innocent young woman changed him and means more to him than anything in the world. He just wants to love her and be loved by her. And this impossible dream is impossible. Camilla tricked them and intended to sacrifice Miss Charlotte for her own nefarious purposes. And while she is not successful, Miss Charlotte dies. And that was not the ending I was hoping for. But I am jumping ahead a little. Camilla uses an illusion to trick Maya into believing Dee has Miss Charlotte, and he is slashed right through the head. Now that he's out of the way, she makes Miss Charlotte believe that Maya is finally ready to turn her into a vampire so they can be together. She goes where he calls, trusting him implicitly. In reality, Camilla is using her as a blood sacrifice to resurrect her decrepit zombie body, and Charlotte ends up lying bleeding to death on the stone floor. Layla and the remaining Marcus brother infiltrate the castle and are overcome with illusions too. For the man, this results in him becoming a vampire. For Layla, this actually leads to a healing moment, as she sees herself as a child and offers her comfort, assuring herself that her parents' death was not her fault. Before the illusion can become more sinister, Dee pulled her out of it. The newly turned Marcus brother returns and makes a move to feed from her, having fully embraced his new evil vampire self. He is stopped by the spirit-projecting wizard guy, who I think has been in love with Layla this whole time. Both men die. Maya pulls himself together and goes in search of Charlotte. Dee faces Camilla and she is very strong and very determined to have her victory. She tries to convince Dee that he is on the wrong side, that he is dishonoring that vampire side of himself. But he disagrees. The age of vampires is over. He pulls up on all his strength and puts an end to this ritual, once again working with his handy-dandy left hand. In a panic, the half-rejuvenated Camilla rushes to Charlotte's body and is blocked by Maya, who delivers the final blow, protecting his love. but she's lost so much blood. He holds her with such tenderness and devotion. Layla has him in her sights, watching this interaction from a distance. She could shoot him in the head right now if she wanted to, but she just can't bring herself to pull the trigger.
You made me happy, Meyer. You let me dream. You let me dream of our beautiful trip to the stars.
It's not a dream. We are going to those stars, Charlotte. You and I will get away from here. We will fly together to the city of the night where we were meant to be free from all of this.
Yes. Freedom. At last.
After all of that, after they tried so hard, their story ends in tragedy. Dee is not as romantic as the rest of us and wants Charlotte's body so he can take her back to her loved ones. Maya tells him that he loved her better than anyone else, and she knew it. He still wants to make their dream come true. He still wants to take her to the city of night. They fight as Layla watches. All this violence, all this bloodshed, just to keep two lovers apart? What a waste. And she's tired of it. She removes Charlotte's ring and throws it at the fighters. Dee gets the upper hand in the fight and plunges his blade into Maya's shoulder, purposefully missing his heart. "Why did you miss?" he asks. This question makes me think he wanted Dee to kill him. He just wanted to go down fighting. But Dee's now on the same wavelength as Layla and says the ring will be enough to prove to Charlotte's family that she's dead. He finally acknowledges and accepts their love and leaves the heartbroken vampire with his lost human lover. Dee and Layla stand outside as Camilla's castle crumbles. She asks him for a ride to the next town, and just as he is about to get onto his horse, they hear a rumble. It's the rocket ship. Maya wants to fulfill the dream he shared with Charlotte. He wants to take her to the city of the night. Layla watches with held breath, hoping that just one damn thing can go right, and the rocket ship won't explode into 1,000 pieces. Give us just a sliver of a happy ending. Let us believe that you can escape and find your own paradise.
Fly, come on! Fly away!
So at least there's that. The rocket ship did not explode, and they made it out. In the final scene of the movie, we see Dee attending Layla's funeral, just as he promised he would do. At the time of the promise, she believed no one would be at her funeral, but it is attended by numerous people, including a little girl who is the splitting image of Layla. She runs up to Dee and offers him some kindness, inviting him to attend her grandmother's wake. He looks exactly the same. Layla's whole life has gone by, and he is unchanged. And he remembered his vow. The little girl knows him and knows the story of his promise, which means that Layla talked about him. She thanks him for coming to the funeral, and he looks surprised, almost. Again, I think he did not expect any kindness. As soon as the girl started running up to him, he was already turning to leave, almost as if he expected to be turned away rather than invited back home. He declines her offer to attend the wake and rides off on his horse, hopefully feeling happy that Layla had a good life. And he will continue his never-ending search for vampires to kill, sticking to the fringes of human society.
I just came here to keep a promise to an old friend of mine. She was afraid no one would mourn her death. I'm glad she was so wrong.
Like the rest of this movie, this ending is hopeful and hopeless, pessimistic and optimistic, good and bad. Layla gave up violence and lived a good life, but Dee is still alone. Can he ever find true companionship? Another vampire that chooses to be good? Or a human that doesn't become evil when turned into a vampire? Not that he would turn someone. Man, I just want him to have a happy ending too. I left out tons of stuff from this video, so if you haven't watched Vampire Hunter D, you should. It's 2 movies, so not too much of an investment in terms of time, and it's both entertaining and nice to look at. So that's it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please like and subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, all those things. I hope that your life is filled with things that bring you joy. I hope you have a good day, a good week. I'm Kayla. See you in the next one. Bye.